The horror came unexpectedly and unfairly. Everything had been calm and fine. No, things were just starting to get better. And now I don't even know what to do or how to act. The horror came. Not as a polite guest, but as an insolent, tactless invader. It came and stayed. And me and around me. It all happened just the other day. Maybe a week ago. My wife did the dishes, cooked dinner and fell asleep in front of the TV. At that time, my comrade and I were sitting in the kitchen and chatting about work. He was drinking beer, I was drinking coffee. I still had to drive him home, so I gave up alcohol. Time flew by quickly, and we didn't leave until close to 1 o'clock in the morning. We drove around the city for a long time, talking, passing familiar streets. I didn't get home until 3 in the morning. The apartment was quiet, the TV was off, and my wife was sound asleep, hugging the blanket under which I usually lay. I quickly undressed and lay down next to my wife. I was thinking about something, pondering. After smoking in the kitchen, I went back to bed. I remember thinking, how good and wonderful everything is. I even smiled in the dark. But suddenly my wife's hand was on my chest. There was nothing surprising about it. Except her hand was as cold as ice. I flinched. The next second, her hand clenched, and her manicured nails dug into my skin. I shrieked and recoiled, looking at my wife in bewilderment. I still shudder slightly as I remember the scene that played out before my eyes. Two huge eyes, shimmering in the darkness, stared at me unblinking. They were silvery white, like pearls, and unnaturally bright. It wasn't my wife. I mean, it was her. Her body, her hair, her nightgown. But it was not my meek, devotedly loving wife looking at me, but some kind of witch, a monster. The plump, juicy lips stretched into two thin purple threads. Her teeth were clenched tightly, her eyebrows raised, as if the monster was surprised by something. Her face, looking at me at this moment, was completely insane. I froze. My lungs twisted in spasms of terror, a scream lodged somewhere in my throat, and a huge slimy toad stirred in my stomach. The monster, meanwhile, hissed, turned to face the wall, then me. It ran its hands over the sheet, digging its nails into the fabric, and roared. The sound still echoed in my head. I had never heard anything like it before. A horrible, wrenching growl, loud and distinct in the silence of the night. The voice changed in a particularly noticeable way. It wasn't a woman's or even a man's voice, but the voice of an animal. Or at least not a human voice. It was a low, husky, dragging bass, something like the sound of an 8-cylinder engine idling. Ready to faint with terror, I slowly rose from the bed and staggered toward the door, hesitant to take a breath. My spouse didn't seem intent on following me. She just sat awkwardly on the bed, staring at me with a dead, expressionless stare. The eerie growling didn't stop. I kept my eyes on her. The moonlight illuminated her disheveled hair, the bare shoulder beneath her nightgown, her pale skin and sunken cheeks. She'd always had a beautiful, round face, but now it sagged and deflated. When I accidentally snagged a chair with my foot, the monster opened its mouth and growled something in my direction. The chair collapsed to the floor. I don't know how my heart, which was ready to jump out of my chest at that moment, didn't burst. When I finally reached the door, my wife was awkwardly out of bed, swaying from side to side like a marionette. I staggered out into the hallway and quietly closed the door behind me, gripping the knob with a dead grip. I was so scared in those moments. I didn't want to believe what was happening, But I couldn't disbelieve it either. I stood like that for a long time, clutching the doorknob. In the darkness and silence, everything seemed ghostly and unreal. Fear was replaced by a kind of repressed attachment. But then I heard the shuffling of feet outside the door, and the fear came back with more force. I listened painfully for every sound. She walked along the bed and the window and froze for a moment. Then moved toward the door, snagging the chair I'd knocked over, and stopped again. Then slowly walked back to the window. She continued to growl and wheeze and mumble something incoherent and incomprehensible. But then the monster stopped, and there was silence. I stood there without moving. I could only hear my heart beating desperately, and nothing else. I wanted to go to the bathroom. I wanted to drink and smoke. I wanted everything to go back to the way it was. The way it was half an hour ago. I could have run away. The front door was just around the corner, but I froze like a stone. After all, this is my house, and there, behind the door, walks my wife, albeit crazy, but still my wife. But who am I kidding? To be honest, I didn't do anything, because my feet were stiff with fear, as if they were pressed into the floor. An hour passed, maybe a minute. My nose itched. Such an everyday, common, and natural urge. I slowly pulled one hand away from the door and brought it up to my face, trying not to shake the air. At that moment, a voice came from behind the door. Not a growl, not a wheeze, but a voice. Rough, angry, and clearly displeased. As formulaic as it sounds, the wife spoke Greek or Latin. It was a distinctive sound, easily recognizable after watching a couple of horror movies. Except I wasn't in a movie, and it wasn't some dark magician saying something incomprehensible, it was my own wife. She talked for a long time, struggling to form syllables into words, and occasionally breaking into howls. I was already in the last degree of despair and was ready to run to the kitchen for a knife to end this nightmare. To be continued.